Yes.
Mr. Castillo.
Here.
Mr. Lawrence.
Here.
Mr. Reidinger.
I think he's not here until we make a motion to
Oh,
allow him to be here.
Yeah,
Okay. Ms. Ward and Mr. Webb.
Here.
Thank you. He's not here until we make a motion. That's good. All right.
all right, would you all rise, please, and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
oh, he's not looking at
All right, before we get to the next item, the adoption of the agenda, if anybody is watching us live from home, don't forget tonight is the all-night grad fundraiser at Chipotle, so get over to Chipotle before closing time with your flyer. All right, now, item 1.04, the adoption of the agenda.
1.02, which was the remote participation. We'd move that.
Yeah, we'll entertain that.
Oh,
If you refresh on the browser, they did
They did? Okay.
change it.
All right.
thanks, Ted.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
in accordance with the School Board Policy 2.23B, I move to approve the participation of School Board member Phil Reidinger by remote access to the school board meeting due to a previously scheduled business trip.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Mr. Reidinger joins us on the, and will let us know if you're having trouble hearing, which you will, and we'll try to help.
But I'll do my best to concentrate.
All right. Let me refresh my browser here so that we can get to the proper, okay. Now we move to the adoption of the agenda. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda this evening?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Webb. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, we have an agenda. Now we come to the public comment section. In accordance with School Board Bylaws 2.30, the time for each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Additional written statements may be submitted to the clerk for dissemination to board members and for the record. I have 2 speaker slips. If anybody else would like to speak, please fill out a slip and come forward. Our first speaker this evening is Allison Kutchma. Ms. Kutchma, is your microphone on? Should be, yes, please.
Now it's green. I've done this before. I should learn how to do this. So I wanted to ask you to, and I've asked you this before, but I'd like you to delay your vote. I've been to all the budget meetings, and it's great that you've gone through the materials that Dr. Jones has provided. But I was waiting for the part in the meeting where you do your program analysis, where you talk about the costs of programs that we finance, the PYP, the MYP, the cost, how much we spend on these programs, and talk about outcomes for those programs. This weekend at the work session, the co-chairs of the ESOL committee spoke and asked for more staff. Nobody elaborated about that, about the need for that as it relates to SOL pass rates. And if you've looked at the letter that's up on board docs, and I wonder if anyone on the board has gone to the VDOE website. Have you gone to the VDOE and seen our SOL scores yet? Anyone? Okay, because it's really helpful as a division to look at these and look at where we struggle, and then use this to analyze where you would put resources. So if you haven't done that and you're about to pass the budget, I'm really concerned because it's about outcomes. We're in the business of educational outcomes. And when we have this huge failure rate of our kids in certain categories, we need to at least talk about it. And Dr. Jones, in the meeting, she mentioned that she was following the planning factors, and she said that the outcome for our limited English students for the past couple years has been great. Have you guys seen the scores? Seems like a no. I would ask that you look at that. I'd like
Ms.
you to...
Kutchma, just for the record, this is public comment, it's not a dialogue, which
Right,
is why
okay,
that
well-
you're not engaging in a dialogue. So we're here to hear your thoughts, not to
Okay,
communicate
this
back
seems
and
like a
forth. Please-
dialogue, but thank you.
please
Yeah,
proceed.
so please, I would really like if you would consider outcomes and talk to teachers. I've made some recommendations that you should get some information directly from staff. Verify information that you're given, and please look at educational outcomes before you ask the council to give you a pot of money to spend on educating our children. Thank you.
Next up this evening, we have Amanda Blanchard. Welcome, Ms. Blanchard.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from the Falls Church City Education Association. As you, I'm sure, will have final comments and considerations this evening, as kind of extending from your Saturday work session, please make sure that you do include as much as you believe we need. And if that means that you need more or request more, and that we believe we need more, I know that you have our support moving to the City Council to rally teachers and community members to support that. So as you make your final comments and decisions this evening, please do keep that in the back of your mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Blanchard. Any other public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we have received some other communications.
We have, sir.
Hold on 1 second here. I see Melissa Dana has entered. We were just closing our public comment. No public comment. All right. Just want to be sure. Okay. Yes, Mr. Kimball.
Yes. Received 3 written communications, two from Allison Kutchma. The first putting in, as she says, just another plug asking for the board's support for the teacher workplace climate survey. And the second document was one that she referenced in her comments concerning student outcomes and provides some extensive data on FCCPS student outcomes. And the last piece of written communications is from Ms. Liz Hume, who writes to the board to support the board conducting a staff teacher climate survey.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. Now we come to item 3.02, approval of submission to the city manager of the fiscal year 17 operating budget. Dr. Jones.
As you know, the school board has done a lot of work over the last, since December, really hard work on the budget, and we have the motions forward, and I know that the school board was going to make some comments, I think, on the operating budget tonight.
So no up, we're steady state, no new news or anything. I just want to check before we go down the.
On the actual budget?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we didn't have any changes from Richmond or anything of that nature this week. What we do have on board docs and in front of you tonight is the school board adjustments that were made on Saturday, and those are reflective now with this option, including the topped-out bonus. And what we mean by topped-out are those support staff and/or administrators who are at that highest level on the salary lane, which means they've been long-serving employees, and there's not another step to go to. And so that bonus is built in. Half-time, 0.5 gifted teacher. We have an increase in instructional supplies at 5%. And if you remember originally on the unfunded list, we were trying to get it 10%, but the board managed to find a way to get that 5%. There's also a central office project assistant, and then a line item for survey, so that as the school board, when you discuss that, next month, that you'll have the, know exactly where that line item would be if the school board should decide to do that. What it does not include, there was a reduction in the legislative legal project area of the budget, which is where the survey would be, where we would take that funding out of. We've also reduced the communications assistance, and we've taken our contingency down just below $100,000. So the total contingency now is at $201,600 instead of being at that $300 where we had originally hoped to have it. So again, that is on board docs, and you have a hard copy of that in front of you, just to help the school board reference tonight.
And Mr. Castillo, you had mentioned the state revenue. Just to let you know, if the board had seen information that our legislative liaison, Lila Wise, had presented, apparently, the proposed state revenue for Falls Church schools in the governor's budget that's being proposed by the House Appropriations Committee and by the Senate Finance Committee are actually astonishingly close. I've never seen, and neither has Lila in any year, the budgets proposed budgets be so close, within about $10,000 to $20,000 either way, which suggests that there's very little change to the governor's proposal. So that's what we know about the General Assembly at this point.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kimball. Would this be a good time just to have a brief update on the fund balance as well? Have just a little refresher for the community about the general issue of the fund balance. The fund balance will be going down, and could you just go over that as a
and I'm
topic?
going to channel Susan Carney here, former school board member Susan Carney, who did such a good job with the fund balance. Essentially, the school board it ends the year, and the fund balance is a number that shows the amount of money in remaining in the operating budget on one day, June the 30th of the year. Going into the current year, our fund balance was slightly over $1.1 million. Going into this year, the one we're in right now, of that, approximately $600,000 was designated to be used to support this year's budget, which is a non-recurring revenue source. And we do anticipate that all of those funds will be drawn down. Per the audit report that was received by the City Council and the Board in November, this leaves approximately $465,000 that we know we will have currently as unobligated funds that the board can then use as a funding source for the FY17 budget. As you alluded to, the fund balance in the school operating budget has declined over the past 2 years. It used to be in the $1.5 to $2 million range, and we're now in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, which actually suggests accurate budgeting and improved fiscal management, that you're not ending the year with huge surpluses, nor is the operating budget running a deficit. But you are correct that in fact the monies that the board carries in its operating budget from one year to the next have been declining and are projected to continue to remain low.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. So at this time, we could either entertain a motion and then discuss it, or if anybody would like to weigh in with some initial thoughts, happy to do it either way.
Do you want to run through all three, and then we can all make comments at the end, and then do three motions in a row?
Let's just do them one at a time. I think that'll be clean. We can certainly do it that way, but I think it'd be cleaner if we just knock them down one at a time. So let's begin with the big one, which is the operating budget.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that the school board approve for submission to the city manager the proposed 2016-2017 operating fund budget in the amount of $48,623,400, which requires a city appropriation of $40,300,000 $362,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ankuma. I'll ask rhetorically, any discussion? And,
If we're going to make comments on the budget, do you want them now, or should we wait till we go through all three and then make them?
well, if there's any discussion now that we'd like to have, we can, once we're through all three, we can do additional discussion of this. But if there's anybody who would like to discuss the motion on the table now,
I don't have a discussion. I'll have a comment at the end on the
Okay.
overall budget.
all right? Anyone, or would,
I just have something to point out on the school board adjustments, where it says in yellow to the left side of the 5.4, it has city general fund. Is that what it is, or is that the operating budget? City general fund, 83 million?
Yes, the question is,
Is that the general fund, or is that the operating budget?
well, we had actually provided this in previous years as the denominator to show the percentage of the school operating budget as a percentage of the entire city general fund, because that's been a statistic that has been of interest, and it's ranged between I think about 44 to 48% over the last 12 years or so. And so it's just as provided there as informational to show in terms of the entire city general fund budget, of which the transfer to the schools is a portion. What percent of the general fund budget is the transfer to the school operating budget?
So should that read general budget? I mean, when I see general fund,
Yes.
I'm thinking the general fund where the reserves, sort of, if I can call it that, are kept, not the general fund budget. I just want to make sure it's clear.
It's the general fund budget of the entire city of Falls Church.
Okay, I'm just wondering, all right, I'll make a note of here, budget. Yeah, okay.
so I think Mr. Ankuma is asking, we don't have $83 million sitting
Sitting
around.
in the fund, exactly. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any other questions, or are we ready to go to a vote? All right, seeing none. Mr. Kimball, would you call the roll?
With pleasure, sir. Okay, very good. Mr. Ankuma,
Aye.
Mr. Castillo,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Reidinger,
Yes.
great. Ms. Ward, and Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Charpentier?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. We come now to item 3.03, approval of submission to city manager of the FY17 food service budget. Would anybody like
Mr.
to?
Chairman, I move approval for submission to the city manager, the proposed 2016-2017 food service budget with receipts and disbursements in the amount of $1,090,000, $1,090,300.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Mr. Kimball, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Mr. Ankuma,
Aye.
Mr. Castillo,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Reidinger,
Yes.
Ms. Ward,
Could you turn your microphone on?
Yes.
great, and Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I got to turn my microphone on. Thank you very much. Next, we come to the revised item 3.03, approval of submission to city manager of the FY17 community services budget. Would anybody care to make a motion?
I'll do that.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Ankuma.
I move that the school board approve for submission to the city manager the proposed 2016-2017 Community Services Fund budget in the amount of $2,117,900, requiring a total city appropriation of $121,030.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, would you call the roll, please, Mr. Kimball?
Certainly. Mr. Ankuma,
Yes.
Mr. Castillo,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Reidinger,
Yes.
Ms. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all. Before we move on down the agenda, as is our custom, we present some thoughts and remarks about this budget process. I will start with Ms. Ward, if you're ready and able, or if you'd like to defer. All right, we'll just work from left to right. Mr. Ankuma.
I would just like to commend my colleagues on long nights and lengthy discussions, but I believe while we were not able to satisfy everybody, at least we were able to touch a lot of needed aspects of the budget, and hopefully it gets the blessing from City Council and is obviously incorporated into the budget as we've presented it. But a good job to all done. It was difficult for those who may not appear to have gotten what they need. You know, we're still working hard to make sure it happens, if not this year, next year. So, again, thanks to everybody, and I hope you bear with us while we do the best we can with the limited resources that we have. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Ankuma. Mr. Lawrence.
Just a couple remarks. First of all, just want to let people know that Erin Gill is not here today because she is home, very, very sick, too sick to even call in. So before I make my comment, I just wanted to read something that she sent in. So this is from Erin Gill. I support the FY17 budget as presented by Superintendent Dr. Tony Jones this evening. The budget was carefully crafted after many hours of discussion among the members of the school board. It prioritizes competitive pay for our teachers and support staff and provides for critical additional staffing. However, this budget does not address all of our schools' needs, and many requests will remain unfunded again this year. Our school population continues to grow, and we're asking our personnel to do more with less every year. This is a story that's being played out in school systems across the country, across the United States, and will continue to be the case until we as a society prioritize education. Thank you to all the parents, teachers, staff, and community members who submitted questions and comments during the budget process. I hope that you will all use your strong advocacy skills to support this budget when we present it to the City Council. I'll make much less coherent remarks, most likely. This, oddly enough, it was a simple budget to do, but it was a real tough budget because we don't have any more money, we've got more kids, and we've got the same pressures. But we got it done in time, and we got it done with consensus, which matters because sometimes doing more with less and less is not pleasant. And one thing I love about being on the school board is even when we disagree, we do it politely, we enjoy each other's company, and in the end, even if we disagree, we keep working together to go forward. You know, we heard from a lot more people than usual to me this year, and we heard from different people. This is the first time we've had multiple people, including students, come up and talk about the debate society at the high school, and I think that was fantastic, and it's, you know, going to annoy my son because I already told him he needs to look into the debate society because they did such a good job. We also got out to the schools a lot more, and not just to the teachers, to administrative staff, to support staff, to central office staff, to leadership. We all got out there multiple times, which I think really made a difference in terms of what we heard. And our visibility matters because we're passing the budget, and if we aren't seen as being out there and talking to people, that doesn't reflect well on us. I also think it reflects well on Tony and Hunter that they all went out to the schools too, because they had a proposal on the salary scale to recalibrate, and they went out and they talked to teachers. And every place I went, people remarked that they loved that because they really felt like you wanted to make it clear what happened, what you were proposing and why, and to be there and answer any questions, which really makes a difference because you don't want the central office sending out edicts and then not going out and being willing to field the questions. For Aaron and Phil, you know, my God, they caught on faster than I know I ever did. And if they felt like they were drowning the way I did my first budget season, they certainly never showed it. So kudos to them. The funny thing is, I know we did it right because no one is happy. And it was funny. I was talking to my son because he sees these things and he's like, seriously? You have to go through that? And I said, yeah, the funny thing they don't tell you is you can never fund anyone enough. Not kids, not teachers, not admin, not support staff. And he just looked at me in horror because, you know, why would you do this if you know you can never fund people enough? And it's because you've got to do everything you can with everything you've got and then go forward and fight for everything you can get. And we tried to hit everybody so that, you know, teachers were helped out, support staff, admin staff, the topped out bonuses hit people who hadn't seen any change in sometimes 2 years, which we tried to be as even-handed as possible. Like Michael said, not everybody got what they wanted, not everybody got an increase, but we certainly tried. And we got less, we've asked for less than we need. We are proposing less than the superintendent wanted. I mean, I think we all remember back in the fall when she went out to the PTAs, I think the figure you were throwing out then is the real need was over 10%. And we're down at 5.4, so I think we're about half, and we're still higher than the council wants. So this is not the end, it's really the end of our beginning and the beginning of the next process. So like Aaron said, I hope everybody comes out, talk to the city council, talk to us, and make your feelings known, because in the next 4 to 6 weeks is when it really, really gets decided. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to thank my colleagues for the many hours that we put into this. And it is a process that we all come to the table with many ideas of how to go about funding our schools and trying to fund them in the best way possible to make sure that we touch and get as much as we can to all our constituencies, the teachers, the faculty, as well as the support staff, because they all play a critical role in what we do to educate the kids here in Foster City. Yes, everyone is not happy with the overall budget, but I think what we have made the effort to craft is to make sure that the critical needs of our students are going to be met. We will continue to work and figure out ways to continue to address some of those issues that are now on the unfunded side, to hopefully in the coming years we can figure out how to, working with the council to fund those needs, because they are needs. They're not things that we just are luxuries. They are things that we definitely at some point will need, and many of these things are things that have been on the back burner for a while, and when you leave things there for too long, they will become critical issues opposed to issues that we can work and handle now and mitigate versus the critical we have to do them. And whenever you get to that point of have to do, it's never a good thing, because we're really working hard to potentially something is going to have to go to the wayside that we can want to fund. To our teachers, we just want to say that we definitely appreciate you, what you do every day in the classroom. We will continue to work hard to make sure that your salaries are competitive. We will continue to have open doors that you can talk with us, that you have those opportunities to do that, because this year was a opportunity for us. Because of work travel, I wasn't able to get to the administrators meeting, which I was disappointed by, but we are giving the teachers as well as administrators opportunities to share their concerns so that we can have a fuller picture as we work to develop the budget. Hunter and Tony, you've done another great job of putting together a budget. You asked for more, but again, we are trying to, again, work with a council that we know is asking for a lower amount, but I think we have done the best we can to make sure that we are funding all the needs of our students. Parents, I encourage you to come out as our budget moves from our side over to the city side and general government side. And as we want to ask you to come out to support the budget, because it is one that we have worked hard on and are proud of, and that we will continue to work and hopefully come up with additional funds to do more and better things for our students in Falls Church. And I just want to single out our two new colleagues, Aaron and Phil, for catching on very quickly and coming with great ideas and fresh ideas that I think we are a very young board, but they're even younger than most of us on this board of trying to get it. And they, I think, both got it pretty quickly, and it's definitely was great to have those two new, fresh perspectives on the board this year as we went through the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Ms. Ward? Absolutely. Mr. Ridinger, would you like to attempt some live remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll give it my best shot, and I'm cognizant of the fact that if I think I only heard what Mr. Lawrence was saying, I may repeat a few things. It sounds like there's a significant echo anyway. What I'd like to say is, for me, the budget process is all about doing what's best for our students, and I believe that's true for the entire board. And again, for me, that means making sure that we put the best teachers that we can in the classroom and give them the means and the tools that they need to teach effectively. So it's more than anything else, small class sizes and teacher retention are the most critical issues. And I think this budget actually focuses fairly heavily, given the tight economic resources we've got, on teacher retention and providing teachers with the tools that they need. In point of fact, in tight economic times, in a place where the school budget is driven 85% by personnel, that means that paying teachers competitively and having enough teachers to keep small class sizes is going to drive substantially the cost of the school system. And we're never going to be able, a small jurisdiction next to a big and very affluent jurisdiction like Arlington, at least from the commercial tax perspective, be able to readily compete with them. So we do the best we can, and in fact, we've got incredible teachers and an incredibly excellent school system to get the job done. So within the constraints that we've got, I think we've done a very good job of trying to meet multiple priorities. I think I heard someone say before, maybe John, Mr. Lawrence, that no one will be happy. Will be happy, but nonetheless, it's a good job. There's some things I'd like to do next year. I think there are going to be some big programs under review next year, and I'd like to see if we could focus more on trying to do a review of the budget by program as opposed to by line item. But that's something that takes a while to implement. So I'd like to applaud the board and thank all the members of the public and the teachers who reached out to us to share their time and share their concerns. I think we've done the best job we can under the circumstances, and I hope that we'll be able to meet the needs that are out there and continue to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ridinger. You were actually quite audible, so well done. Ms. Ward.
First, I'd like to thank my colleagues and for all the hard work and the countless hours you've spent with me and Dr. Jones working on this incredibly difficult budget. I think we prioritized correctly by making the teacher salaries the focus of this budget. And unfortunately, we had to cut some things, and I think what we cut, while it's always difficult to say no and to cut things, it's what we had to do at this point so we could move those important budget issues forward. We spent a lot of time throughout the year as well. You know, a lot of these decisions aren't just made during the budget season. We discuss programs, we discuss teacher salaries, we discuss
numerous budget items, not necessarily as budget items throughout the year, but we do discuss them, so we're informed, and when it comes time to the budget season, we already have a good background in these programs and know what we are talking about when we decide what we need to cut, what we need to keep. So just wanted to mention that, so you don't think it's just all, we only do this in like 2 months' time. The other thing I wanted to mention is for the parents and the citizens who support our schools, to please come out to the school city council meetings and make your desires known. City council needs to know who is supporting this budget. They're also under a tight constraint when it comes to finances. So they have to understand what items in the general fund budget are important to all their citizens. The more citizens who come out and support the school board budget, the more likely it is to be passed. This is not a slam dunk. We still have to go in front of the city council. So please, please, I ask all of you to come out and support this budget. Thank you.
Mr. Charpentier.
All right, so first of all, I'd like to thank you because I've learned a lot. This is my first time working with a budget, and I was exposed to a lot of the discussion and the input that goes on, and so I've had a great learning experience. And so as for the budget itself, I'd add that students, I think, don't look at the budget, and the items that you have in the budget are not going to be things students are going to point to and say, this is affecting me. But I would say that much of the budget this year is focused on things that are going to raise morale or reinforce the culture of Falls Church City Public Schools, which I think is very important. And I think that certainly students will feel the budget in that sense, in the sense that maybe teachers are happier or the materials went up. I think that the students will feel it this way, and that the Falls Church City culture is still here. And so, yeah, so I think students will appreciate it that way, even though they don't understand it fully. I don't claim to understand it fully, but I certainly do appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charpentier. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who participated in this process. Mr. Kimball, Ms. Goodell, Dr. Jones, Ms. High, and everybody else in the schools, both in the teachers, staff, administration. I think we did a good job of extending and broadening our conversation with the community. We're talking now with building principals, with the teachers, with the staff, and that really helps to, I think, develop a good sense of what needs and priorities are, and I think we need to continue doing that. Our mission is to ensure that we provide a high-quality, free K through 12 education to students in Falls Church City, and that is a multi-stakeholder process. We have taxpayers, we have parents who have wishes and desires for their children's education, we have teachers, and everybody has a voice and a stake in how we deliver this end product. But ultimately, I think we are accountable to the educational outcomes for our students. And I think this budget does a good job of continuing that within the constraints of not being able to have unlimited funding. I would say, I hear from time to time the need for the schools to tighten their belts. I do think it's important to say there's not a lot here that you can hack away at before you start to hit some muscle and bone. And we have worked diligently, and I think in good faith, to produce a responsible budget that is consistent with our obligations to our mission. And at the same time, we are all in this together. I think we've had good participation, but I think we need additional participation from people interested in how this process will go over the next few weeks. So I would repeat what others have said here and call for as robust a discussion and presentation of thoughts and views as possible. I was also remiss, I'd like to thank Mr. Lawrence for his help in shepherding through the budget from time to time as I've been out of town or out of meetings. I very much appreciate his steady hand and leadership there. I think we've worked well as a board. I'm pleased. I think this board is going to continue to evolve in positive, constructive ways. And I'm grateful for the contribution of every member of this board. I do applaud Ms. Gill and Mr. Reidinger for hitting the ground running. And as we move forward, our budget cycle is not restricted to a discrete time period. We've been working on articulating that a little better. This is really a cycle whereby we develop a budget, then in the summer we adjust our work plan and our mission in light of outcomes that we see and analyze over the course of the summer, and those requirements, as well as new inputs from the community, then inform the draft budget that we formulate, and back around in the cycle we go. And it is a continuous feedback loop. We do look at outcomes all the time and make adjustments as necessary. One of the other things I think we need to be mindful of is, and I saw this with respect to the debate club morphing into the debate team, which we talked about, and that is, as we grow as a division, we're going to have to grow with respect to meeting the needs and goals of the students. And there are a lot of great ideas out there. We've seen new sports come along, we've seen new clubs and teams come along, and those are all to the good. And I think we need to realize that we need to be mindful of the many ways that strings, for example, for many years we didn't have strings, now we have strings. And I think it's good that we are evolving in that fashion, and we need to have resources available to allow that to occur. So again, thank you to everyone for their hard work. I wish I could say that our work is done and we can take some time off. We now have other things to do, but I think this has been an excellent start to the year, and I thank all of you. Now we come to, unless there are any further comments, we'll continue to move on. Mr. Lawrence?
No, I would just say one thing. You sort of put us all to shame, because I know I forgot to thank Tony and Hunter and Marty and Lisa and John and Rick and everybody else, not only in central office, but also in the schools and the teachers who, they want to talk to us, but the fact is, if they're going to do it, they have to come in extra early on an already early day so that they still have time to not only talk to us for up to an hour, then have time to get their classes together and still be there for when all the little ones and, well, not so little ones come running in. And I appreciate it, and they seem to absolutely enjoy it. It didn't seem like it was a burden to them, but, I realize some of them drive from quite a distance, and if you're getting here for a meeting at 7:20 in the morning, you're not leaving at 7:10. You're leaving at crack of dawn or before. So we're up here taking the vote, but it's only because we got a lot of people behind us making it clear that we can do it, we know how to do, and I almost forgot Mr. Horn, who's, he ends up giving us more advice than I think he ever wanted to. So thank you to everyone for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. And I would also say that we do an excellent job, and I'm hopeful we'll get some additional traction in this area of finding ways to find high-quality, low-cost additional resources. Mr. Webb mentioned that a little bit, and I'm hopeful that we will, excuse me? Yes, when somebody else is paying for it. So with that, thank you again for getting us through the budget process. I do think this was, I always think budgets will be simple and straightforward, but they're always complicated, protracted, and difficult. This year's no exception. But I think we did a good job of which we can be proud. We'll move on now to item 3.04, the request from the Special Education Advisory Committee. In November of 2015, the Special Education Advisory Committee took a vote requesting that the school board consider either dissolving the Special Education Advisory Committee or removing 2 of its members. At this point, the time has come. We have received repeated requests that we take this item up and consider it, and we are working to develop a path forward to accomplish that in a responsible and comprehensive fashion. With that background in mind, I would entertain a motion to put this process into effect.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the school board designate Michael Ankuma to conduct an investigation into the Special Education Advisory Committee's recommendation that the school board consider removal of 2 committee members and, if that is not possible, dissolve the committee and report his findings back to the school board no later than Tuesday, March 15th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Any discussion, any questions? Mr.
Just
Lawrence.
Thank you that we're finally moving on this, and I look for a quick and thorough investigation by Mr. Ankuma.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Any other questions or comments? All right. Mr. Kimball, would you call the roll?
Certainly, sir. Mr. Ankuma.
Aye.
Mr. Castillo.
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence.
Yes.
Mr. Reidinger. Mr. Reidinger.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Ward
Yes.
and Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to board and student liaison comments. We've had some comments, but now is the time to flesh out other things we've been doing when we haven't been doing the budget, and there has been some of that. Mr. Charpentier, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what to add besides, thanking everyone. I think all of us, when crafting the budget, we're looking for what's best for the students, and I certainly perceive that. And so I guess the methods differ, but in the end, you all came to a compromise, and I appreciate that, and I think in a way that is a model. Yeah, I don't have anything more to add. So.
Thank you, Mr. Charpentier.
Come back to me in a second.
All right, with pleasure. Let's go from right to left this time. Mr. Webb.
For my 2 liaisons, they both are meeting. One, the daycare advisory will not be meeting until next week, and then I go back to get involved with the Parks and Recs, which is I hold near and dear. So their meeting is tomorrow, where they'll be talking about some plans for master plan for Big Chimneys Park, which has been around and talked about to get some type of work done to that since I moved into the city 10 years ago when I got onto the Parks and Rec. So it's kind of coming full circle for the hope that we're getting there to do some work at that pretty neglected park in the city. Then also, I just want to congratulate our boys basketball team on their great job. you can come right on back. Oh, we all can do that. But they have done an amazing job as they move on into state tournament play. I always enjoy when I get to see some of the schools being that our size when we go play against schools in other parts of the state, where I sometimes feel I'm the only person in Falls Church who knows where a lot of those counties and cities are when they go downstate. As the guys played Prince Edward last week, which I wish I was in town. I was in Charlotte for work. Prince Edward is a county that's adjacent and a rival of the area of Virginia I grew up in, so it's always kind of good when I said to Mr. Horner a little earlier tonight, those guys probably got blinded by the bright lights of Falls Church City, and seeing that when you go down there, it's not a whole lot of bright lights, but it's a whole lot of trees and deer that you're ducking and figuring out to make sure you don't hit anything late in the evenings for them. But they have done a great job, and I look forward to seeing them move forward and hopefully get to some of the games as they move on in the state championship, which will start, I believe, on Saturday. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Mr. Reidinger.
Given the remote nature, I'll withhold my comments for the next meeting.
I'm sorry, you said you'll make your comments next week?
Next meeting, I'll pass next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really not a whole lot more to say, except that we are still working on George Mason, Mary Ellen Henderson project with City Council. So despite the fact that the budget has been taking all our time, the rest of our time that doesn't exist has been spent on that. So that's still in the works.
Mr. Ankuma.
Our peak meeting in February was, I was going to say snowed out, but I think it was more like iced out. So that had to be postponed. So we should be having another one shortly. Chamber of Commerce meets next week. I will report on that after that. The annual dinner is obviously coming up, and I believe it's the first weekend in April. Right. So. And I was at the office, and they were getting ready to send the cards out, so be on the lookout and come support a very worthy cause. Gifted and Talented was at a meeting 2 Mondays ago, and still working on the balancing the needs of the community with so many eligible students, and so they keep working on to try to find the right balance and match the resources, and I'm sure they'll be glad to know that at least the school board is looking to support them with additional help in the budget that was just proposed. And the PTSA, as Mr. Castillo mentioned, there's a lot going on at Chipotle today, so we can all head out there and support a good cause.
I think we may be able to get a burrito still. We may adjourn in time.
But yes, we hope the all-night grad goes well, and we're fully behind that for now. Thank you.
Ms. Ward.
Yeah, so my 2 advisory committees that I'm liaison to, the first one is the Athletic Boosters, and we just got finished talking about the budget and how much money we need. I want to just say that the boosters do a lot of fundraisers for our athletic department, and there are 3 that I'd like to mention and put a plug in for. The first one is the mulch sale. That is, the orders they'll take orders online until March 22nd. You'd get a 3 cubic bag for $5 of high quality double shredded mulch, and it will be delivered to your door for free. How is that? Who wants to go to Home Depot and have to pick that up and throw that in your car, right? So you can order that by getting on masonathletics.com. The other fundraiser is the Mustang 500, and anyone who contributes, I believe it's $50. I'm not sure what the contribution amount is, but you are eligible for a weekly drawing of a $100 Visa certificate, and at the spring sports banquet, there's a $1,000 one drawn. And now, let's see. Oh, the other one is the locker room We're having a fundraiser there as well. That will be to coincide with the ACC playoffs. Let me see when that is March 10th. And if you go in there during the time they are airing those games, they will donate 25% of the proceeds to Mason Athletics boosters. Last but not least, I wanted to mention our boys basketball team in a little more detail. The game last Friday was awesome. They really did a great job. They played down in Orange County. This Saturday, there's a game, but this is local. It's in Fairfax at Robinson High School, I believe. Is it Robinson? I think. So that one's during the day. That's at 11. And then they'll be playing at the Siegel Center at VCU the following Friday at 11:45, and then Saturday at 4 p.m., we hope. Please come out and support these boys. They are the first George Mason basketball team to ever have an undefeated season going into the championship playoffs. I want also to mention one of the players who I've known since he was a tiny kid, Robert Tart. He scored his 1,000th point this year, but he also broke the Mason record for scoring. So we're really proud of Robert, and he's doing a great job, and all the boys on the team are doing a great job, but I just wanted to point out Robert's accomplishments. When it comes to the other liaison, my liaison duties at ESOL, not a lot is happening there. We did just appoint Gabby Sandos as one of our board members, and we're happy to have Gabby aboard. And the other thing I did want to mention is the ESOL audit that is completed, right, Lisa? Yeah, they're just writing up the reports at this point. So we're looking forward to seeing what that has to tell us as far as our ESOL program. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Mr. Charpentier, round two.
Round two. So in addition to the basketball team, Quiz Bowl finished third in the state at William & Mary last weekend. And a lot of our seniors voted for the first time today. I think, off the top of my head, I think about half the class registered on just one day when the League of Women Voters came. So that was great. And a few then registered afterwards online. And I think a lot of people at Mason are encouraged others to register and vote, which is nice. And tomorrow, I'll be going, and I hope to see some of you there at the international dinner at 6:30 at Mason to celebrate kind of the uniqueness of our little city and all the different nationalities represented. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Charpentier. Yes, the international dinner is always, it's a perennial favorite. Get there early if you want to get the best food, because it tends to go quickly. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Piscopo for going out on a high note with the Lion King, and she put on quite a show as her swan song, so congratulations to her. I would echo Ms. Ward's remarks that the boys basketball team, I thought, played really as a team. It was really a joy to watch them. And there were some standout performances and great passes, but I think the way they played as a team as opposed to individuals was very noteworthy. And I wish them luck going forward. Again, thank you all for your hard work on the budget. We've had a pretty long past couple of months, and I don't want to draw that out anymore. So unless there are any other comments, I would say we should adjourn and go to Chipotle.